Hello, and welcome back to Movies Recapped. Today I will be showing you an amazing movie named Evan Almighty. The movie begins with presenters finishing up the evening news, with one of them being Evan Baxter. Before they end the live broadcast, his partner decides to bid him farewell by showing viewers his campaign journey, as it is the last day for Baxter as a newscaster. The next morning, he is with his family in a new car, headed for their new home. They make a short stopover to enjoy the view of the lake and breathe in some fresh air before heading off for the final surprise. The final surprise is the new mansion he bought for his family. They are met by an agent who welcomes them and suggests taking a family photo. Inside the house, his wife is excited about its size. He is called by contractors to choose the wood he feels is appropriate for his kitchen. The children are thrilled and run upstairs to view their preferred bedrooms. They are playing with a stray dog when Evan comes outside and asks them not to, as it leaves dirt all over the house. He tells them they are not allowed to keep it. Evan and his wife talk about the day, and the wife mentions their young son and suggestion of praying together. Evan is not enthusiastic about prayer, even when asked by his wife. He thinks her husband has taken on a big role of wanting to change the world. In the middle of the night, Baxter watches his campaigns and decides to get out of bed. Kneels down, and prays to God to help him save the world. His alarm goes off earlier than he had set it that night. He thinks it weird, but he still wakes up, grooms himself thoroughly, and gets ready to go to work on his first day as a congressman. As he bids his family goodbye, promising to see them later for their hike, he gets out of the door only to be stopped by a wooden package. Asking his wife if she ordered anything, he brings the package into the house. Upon opening it, since the package was addressed to him, they find carpenters and building tools. Evan still leaves for work. In the hallway, everybody seems to recognize him and greets him. He enters his office, and Rita, his assistant, welcomes him and allows him to do his little dance. Just then, Marty comes by to welcome Evan and introduces him to the rest of the people they will be working with. He is given his own office where he intends to accomplish his mission of changing the world. Rita gives Baxter a pile of documents for a bill he is supposed to read before the following day. He tries to avoid reading it immediately as he had plans with his family, but Rita insists that he needs to read it right away and cancel all his plans. Baxter heads home with the pile of bills, and even though he tries to explain that it was not him, it was the office. The children are disappointed as they understand that their small hike would not be possible. He falls asleep while reading, and his alarm goes off at 6:14 in the morning. But he doesn't take note of it. As soon as he wakes up, he hears some noises outside. Peeking through the window, he sees a delivery truck dropping off a pile of wood in front of the house. He runs outside to stop them and informs them that it is the wrong address. They tell him to call the number on the sheet to return the wood. He goes back to the house to make the call, and while doing so, he sees the number 614 on the television. Now curious about the number, even on his alarm watch, he runs to find the Bible. He finds the verse about building the ark for God and the type of wood. He runs outside to confirm the kind of wood, only to meet God, who knows everything about him. Evan is still not convinced and walks away. On his way to work, he is surprised to find God in his car, acting as a police officer and the driver of a car behind him. He arrived at the office and thought it was all in his head. Trying to shake off the experience, he closes the office door behind him, and when Rita calls him, he is jumpy. Marty asks him what happened, and as he tries to sit down and catch his breath, Marty informs him of the meeting and pushes him toward the conference hall. They start reciting their pledge, and as he looks around, God is standing next to him. He passes out before the meeting even begins. Congressman Long wakes up Evan, who has been sleeping. Long tries to recruit Evan to his side of things, and Evan accepts. Later that evening, he researches about Noah's family, which is similar to his own. Consisting of a wife and 3 sons who helped him build the ark, and he looks into the size of the boat. Stressed, he vents to his wife about the difficulty of the job. She comforts him and they call it a night. The following morning, 2 doves come to the window, and he is headed to work. His youngest son informs him that it is a sign of good luck. Outside, he finds 2 cats, then 2 dogs. He places a sign for selling the wood and drives off, followed by animals in twos. He is followed by animals as he runs to the office to escape them. Everybody asked him if he was okay and he lied, saying he was as he locked himself in his office. However, birds enter through the window. He tries to shoo them away, but the birds wouldn't leave. Congressman Long enters his office, and Evan is shocked. He lies to Long, saying the birds are trained, and manages to impress him with his explanation. Long leaves and asks Evan not to bring in any more surprises. Rita and Marty help Evan get rid of the birds, and he runs out as instructed. He goes to his car, but animals are everywhere. He carelessly drives off to get home, only to be surrounded by all kinds of animals. He calls to God saying that he had enough, and God appears to him and drives the animals away. They talk, and God shows Evan how he initially created the land and how it looks at that moment. Baxter doesn't believe that God would bring floods to his people again. He tells God he does not even know where to begin, and he is presented with a guidebook to get started. God disappears. Evan is at home reading the manual when he falls asleep. He awoken by the same alarm at the same time. He goes to the bathroom for his normal morning routine and screams upon seeing his face with a small, grown beard. He tries to shave it off, but the beard grows back again. At breakfast, his wife seems to have missed his husband growing the beard, and when asked, he tries to make fun of it. The doorbell rings and Eve Adams shows up with champagne to celebrate Evan as he bought 8 lots of land next door even though Baxter was not aware of the purchases. He tries to explain to his wife that it was a surprise and that he will build a boat as a fun thing to do with the children. Joan gives him a chance to build the boat but asks him not to take too long. Evan calls his sons to help him build the ark on the weekend. In the process, he is injured several times. Taking a bath that evening, he vents to his wife about how difficult the job is, while she asks him not to build the ark. Marty calls Baxter into the office, and as he enters, Rita does not recognize him at first until he proves himself. As she asks about what happened to him, Marty enters, and he is startled by Evan and hair and beard. Marty asks him to shave, but they do not understand how fast the hair grows back. Trying to avoid Congressman Long, he unfortunately meets him at the elevator. Long sees the hair and asks for a private chat with him. In the office, the fish in the aquarium seem to swim around Evan, whichever side he sits on. Evan is back in the field with his boys, trying to lift a big chunk of wood but failing. He sits down in frustration, thinking they need something to lift it. The boys notice a lever that appeared out of nowhere. They are all excited again and continue building the ark. Before dinner, Baxter takes a shower and finds a robe like Noah's from God with a card. He puts it on and joins the rest for dinner. His wife and children are now puzzled about what was happening. His wife calls him aside and he ends up confessing that God told him to build an ark and there was going to be a flood. She gets scared thinking that he was out of his mind. The next morning, Evan tries to groom the hair and beard by styling them and putting on a suit. He finds himself naked outside and goes back inside, wearing the robe and the suit on top. This grooming design frustrates members of Congress. On arriving at the conference hall, he finds his suit on the table and himself back in the robe. As everyone was surprised, animals come through the window and gather around Baxter as he explains about the flood and building an ark to save them, advised by God. He eventually goes back to building the ark, and his family abandons him. Joan takes the children to a restaurant for lunch, stressed about the situation. God appears in the form of water and talks to her, giving her a new perspective on how God works. They all return to help Evan continue building as the animals join in to ensure the ark is completed before the prophesied time of the flood. Although she had initially come in to help him take it down as a family, she changes her mind as soon as she turns and sees all the animals waiting. Reporters camp at the site since the building began, reporting everything live on television. The ark is completed, and the animals board in pairs. People refuse to board, not seeing any signs of flooding. Just as his family is on board, the government arrives to demolish his work. Evan's family is about to give up when the clouds gather and there are showers just for a few seconds and the sun returns. Evan is frustrated, but before he could completely give up, the dam walls built through corruption rupture. Everyone rushes to board the ark before the water comes down, wiping everything in its path. The boat even sails across town, wiping everything it comes across, stopping at the Congressman's hall. He is now certain that people and animals are safe and leads them out. The film ends with Evan having saved people and animals and now spending quality time with his family. He has his last dance with God when he comes to clear all the doubt and mysteriousness of the act before disappearing. In this time, Evan has had an haircut without it growing back and in normal clothing. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for more amazing movies.